Hello and welcome to Green Pass Gaming's Midweek catch up with me, your host Flap. And unfortunately, as you can probably tell already, we only have two corners of the Green Pass Gaming crew with us tonight, and that is myself and of course Puxley. Hello, Pux.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? All right?
Yeah, that's all good, thank you. And as a guest tonight, you maybe noticed already on the screen, not much of a secret, but BMG, community favourite, welcome back to the show. Probably second or third time, I'm guessing. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me back again. Yeah, it was. Thank you for the offer. This is my third, I think it's third or fourth time actually. I think because I jumped on an emergency one once, but yeah, no, thanks for having me back. I'm doing okay, pushing forward,
Good,
and
good.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, as
Thank
long as
you.
you don't keep pushing the Superman narrative and slagging off Sonic, then we're going to be absolutely fine, because I do have a mute button here. So...
Oh no, I will reserve that.
Behave yourself, yeah. Save that for the chat. You can put it in the chat. Also, unfortunately, due to work commitments, unfortunately, we don't have Luke or Scott with us tonight, although we are hoping to bring you a coffee morning on Sunday morning with hopefully all four of us, with some other topics that we've actually thought of that we could have included for tonight's show, but actually thought that they're probably worth saving for Luke and Scott as well. So, yeah, and talking of topics, we've got a few topics that we're going to get through tonight. I know we've advertised two on the YouTube thumbnail. Tomb Raider, there's a new Tomb Raider inbound that was announced the other day by Crystal Dynamics, running on the UE5 engine. And I know Pux has got some information on UE5 in general, because we've had a bit of a Unreal Engine 5 blowout over the last few days. And also Starfield. I think the hype is just starting to sort of, that particular ball is starting to roll now, so it's going to be interesting to see. What I really want out of tonight's show, actually, and this is one for the chat, and any comments watching the show after the live show, is just let us know if you are actually excited for Starfield, and if you're actually buying into some of the hype that's starting to sort of come out. But before we do any of that, I'd like to thank the chat for being here. Thank you, chat. Fantastic. We've got some people in here already. Got Darren Maseko, Mav from Fun Speculation. Fantastic. Thank you for being here. Back from the dead, Ray Palmer. Excellent. Well, let's make a start. And we'll go with you first, Pux, if that's okay. New Tomb Raider. Was that a surprise?
It was a little bit, yeah. Because I know, well, half and half. Because I know there'd apparently been some rumblings, hadn't there, about there being a potential, I don't even know how to call it, a sequel, but some sort of new addition to the Tomb Raider series of some description. I'm sure there was some comments about it a while ago, so I wasn't too surprised. What I had found most surprising, not just about Tomb Raider, but just in general, is not only, it's all coming out, with the announcement of, Unreal Engine 5 actually be going, version 1.0, so to speak. It's production ready now. Everybody out there, all those devs, get going, get cracking, start using it. And again, one of the other things that we do know already is, the companies like the Coalition and a load of other ones that I can't quite remember off the top of my head right this moment have been using it since its early access last year, and actually 2 years ago, because I think it actually got released 2 years to the day, I believe, almost.
Oh, was it?
From when we first got told about Unreal Engine 5 and when it's actually gone production ready, version 5.0 is here, So no, in terms of Tomb Raider, I wasn't let's say I'm not excited about it. It's, if anything, I'm actually more interested to see what Crystal Dynamics can do with Tomb Raider with the UE5 engine, because it's not slagging off their own one, and maybe this is a side topic we can come on to a bit more as we start going down this rabbit hole, I guess. But what I found more interesting is during the initial showcase when they said Unreal Engine 5 is live and they had a bit of a presentation. There's been a number of slides doing the rounds online about all the different companies that are starting to utilize UE5 as part of their pipeline, replacing all of their internal development tools, internal engines, or whatever else, and going solely this route. It feels like it's almost like a shift in the industry now, from a AAA perspective, that is it becoming too expensive, and is it taking too much manpower to constantly update and reiterate on engines, rather than, hold on a minute, let's just take this one that someone else can worry about, and we will just deal with the making. So it's a bit more to it than that, I know, because I know there's a lot of companies out there that still have their own pipelines of processes that they want to follow. But I suppose the good thing with Unreal Engine is the fact that it's open source. Effectively, you have to have a lot of valid license to use it on a published product, But in terms of having got the source code and all that kind of stuff and editing it, that's all open source. You can do that, you can change it, and you can rebuild the engine. And it has so much flexibility, on top of the fact that you've got this whole other company, Epic Games, obviously, that are the ones that are going to be maintaining it all and adding new features. It's almost becoming a no-brainer. But it's interesting because I saw. Oh, go on, Sarah.
Well, no, I think one of the things that really struck me is the sort of the procedurally generated stuff that, I would like to think that obviously large AAA studios will obviously take massive advantage of, but I'd also like to think that it could help some smaller indie devs spread their wings and actually sort of aim higher or set themselves a higher bar in terms of perhaps map size or map complexity and things like that. Now, obviously, indie games tend to be very innovative around gameplay and not so much necessarily hard on the sort of the graphical prowess, perhaps. But it's interesting to see if the indie devs out there as well will also pick up on all of the benefits the UE5 engine will bring as well.
Well, I know Unreal Engine 4, definitely since that went free, I think back in 2014 or 2015, like that got completely eaten up by indie devs who just wanted to jump into a big engine. I think apart from that, I mean, outside of Unity, I don't think there's been too many kind of bigger engines like that which are free. I know there was there's an engine called Lumberyard, which I think then got bought out by Amazon, and I think you've also got the Crytek engine, which I believe went open source or free or whatever. But those are, like, in terms of the dev space of what's the most popular, like you don't even see those on the list anymore. No. It's typically just Unity or Unreal now, and that seems to be the way it goes. And I know there's been a number of indie devs that I've followed in the past and stuff, which have had some experience, jumped into Unreal when it went open source, had a go of the tools, and I mean I've had a go myself and put a few little projects together. And when you jump from something like Unity to Unreal, there's definitely a pipeline difference, and it's more complicated to kind of grasp at first hand, but once you do get it, all of the little puzzle pieces go into place very quickly, and you can see that it's very well put together. It's almost like every aspect of the engine is almost like its own application, but it's all under one umbrella, if that makes sense. But it's all very similar in terms of its UI and how to use stuff, and it just enables, like, you can enable like really good visuals off the bat, like when you start your first project, because I think Unreal's, even back in UE4, Unreal's lighting tools were pretty phenomenal anyway. But since the introduction of Nanite, which is also the standard now, and what I mean by that is that you don't have to enable the Nanite system through a load of plugins or extra add-ons or things like that. It is enabled at default when you open that empty project, and all you have to do is tweak some of the settings to change light direction and put some assets in, and you can see things change in real time. And I think it's also just a few keyboard shortcuts away. You might have remember from the previous demos when you saw like the triangulation of the kind of high poly assets. You can see how they get optimized on the fly. You can do that in the engine, and it's just going to speed things up, if anything. And I think other big devs seeing this, thinking, "Oh man, we spend ages doing all this stuff, but we could just utilize this." So I could definitely see why people are jumping ship. But at the same time, I have seen some. I will stop in a minute. But I have seen some tweets of some, big devs which are pretty vocal on things like Twitter, and almost throwing out the question out there: almost, should we be worried? Sorry, because as great as it is that a lot of big developers can kind of cut production costs from engine development and just focus on something like a third-party source, effectively. The other side of it is this going to potentially stifle innovation from other companies? And we've got like a Frostbite engine and other ones like that, and what's the one the Crystal Dynamics used? Not that it matters, but the point is that the fact that they're using all of their own engines and now they're trying to divert, yes, it saves them those costs, but at the same time they're having to rely on Epic Games to either support those features or they still have to work them themselves. I mean, in a way, it's nice that they don't have to manage the overall infrastructure of the engine. If they have a particular new feature that they want to add in, yes, they can take the code from the open source library, edit it, and rebuild. But then again, you still have to follow the structure of the way the Unreal Engine is built. And if it's completely different from what another engine, how another engine is built or how it's used, then is it going to stop?
I don't think. To be honest, there's so many bespoke engines out there, like Junior, Far Cry, idTech. There's so many engines out there. I think for the larger studios, you know, if there's a very specific game mechanic that they want that UE5 just can't deliver, then they're going to have to invest in their own game engines and things like that. I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. I think hopefully it will speed up game development. That'll be pretty cool. So if games can actually get delivered a little bit quicker, and to be honest, and perhaps we'll come to you on this one, Baldman Gamer. You know, Tomb Raider's a pretty gorgeous game. You know, the last few iterations have been pretty gorgeous. So, you know, something like the UE5 engine at the hands of Crystal Dynamics is quite an exciting prospect, isn't it? From sort of graphically as well. But are you a big Tomb Raider fan? Just out of interest.
What's Tomb Raider?
Oh my God.
No.
Don't tell me you're not a Tomb Raider fan.
No, believe it or not, I've obviously back on when the PlayStation came out and Tomb Raider came out, loved it, enjoyed it. Always like that type of games. Always enjoyed locking the butler in the fridge. For some reason, it was the best bit of the game. But yeah, I've actually bought. I haven't played the new reboot. I bought all three. There was an offer going on. Bought all three games, and for whatever reason, I just haven't started it yet. And I think it's more because I kind of binge played all the Uncharted games. Love Uncharted, brilliant series. And I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm just a little bit burnt out on that type of game or if it's just not quite grabbed me. But I do have them installed, ready to go, ready to play. It's just not jumped into it yet. But
you need to play them. I mean, they've got huge action set pieces, like like Uncharted. Let's face it, this is kind of where Uncharted came from, I guess. But I think they're fantastic games. Yeah, absolutely. You big Tomb Raider fan?
I definitely want to jump in.
You big Tomb Raider fan?
Yeah and no. I'll say yes because I played them back on the PS1, but
no, I meant the recent Tomb Raiders.
No, you know what? I haven't actually played them. I'll be perfectly honest. I've seen plenty of clips and videos of them, and I very much think that I would like them. But I think when they came out, there was other things that were coming out that I preferred to play at the time. And I think, like anything, they just kind of left me by. But wasn't there one Tomb Raider which it came out on one platform, not the other, and there was like a year's wait for it?
It came out on Xbox first. Yeah, was it Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
Year exclusive.
Yeah, but was that was a couple of years ago?
Year exclusive.
Timed exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a PS4 at the time, so I couldn't jump in.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So that kind of explains why I didn't play it. And again, I suppose that might be one of the reasons why I never jumped into it, because by the time it came out on PS4, I was playing other stuff. I was playing the latest thing at that point in time, so it just passed me by.
Chat. Let me know what your thoughts of Tomb Raider are. I can't believe I'm on a panel with two people that haven't played the latest Tomb Raiders. Wow, really? Wow.
Although I will say, I think I actually redeemed them relatively recently on the Epic's game store. So I think they give out a game free every week, whatever it is. And I think it was during the Christmas period I claimed one of them or a few of them at least. So I do have them to play. It's just time for me to actually sit down and give it a go.
Has anyone played them on the Series X yet?
Say again?
Sorry.
Has anyone actually played them on like the Series X or S yet?
No, I haven't. I think there are advantages. They are S and X updated, I believe, aren't they? Or one of them is. I haven't, because I've already completed it, really. So going back to it, I probably should, to be honest. I'd like to check it because they are beautiful games. They really are lovely looking games. I really enjoyed the Tomb Raiders.
Darren in the chat has just said that they've played all the Tomb Raiders, including the originals.
Yeah. I played the originals on the original PS1. Just those, and when you see clips back of the original Tomb Raiders, those massive triangular polygons kind of awkwardly shifting around on the screen as you kind of look around and stuff.
Have you gone back and played them relatively recently, by any chance? Because like the tank controls, or even just seeing the gameplay, it's just like the tank controls. Like when you play them, that tank controls didn't really work well then. Let alone going back to it after 20 odd years worth. So it's so difficult to play now. But
Marseco's just said played Tomb Raider 2013 on the 360. Then on PC at 1080p. Then on PC at ultra wide. Wow. Then on PC at 4K.
And then once on Series X.
And once on Series X. Wow. He said, I do enjoy that game. Yeah, you must do. Holy moly. So it looks like we've lost BMG.
Connection issues, I imagine, but hopefully he can come back soon. They got a Back from the Dead. Here's also said, it was the first Tomb Raider reboot that was a time exclusive, and they've played all 3 and really enjoyed every one. So
no, me too.
I'm missing out something.
Yeah, you definitely are. Yeah, you definitely
I thought I saw I can't remember who it was. I'm sure I saw someone on our Discord who mentioned that they played one of them or a couple of them and weren't a big fan. So it clearly doesn't tick everyone's boxes, but that's
fair enough.
a game, I guess.
Yeah, no, different strokes for different folks. That's absolutely fine, I guess. But no, I really bought into the Tomb Raiders.
I was going to throw the question to you. Like, how do you feel about it? Is it something you're really looking
forward
to?
Yeah, I am really.
Others, or?
I mean, the last time I heard Crystal Dynamics, and we kind of mentioned it on this show, we were talking about Perfect Dark. So to sort of hear Crystal Dynamics are working on a new Tomb Raider, I mean, why wouldn't they? They're a big studio. I was quite excited by it, really. And like I say, I think the thing with the newer Tomb Raiders is graphically they're really beautiful. I think that they're really stunning. So to see what Crystal Dynamics will do with the UE5 engines, quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, it's it's often compared to Uncharted, although it's probably unfair. Uncharted should be compared to it in lots of regard, I guess, because that's kind of where it came from. But yeah, these massive set pieces, it is kind of like watching a film on some level. And, the stories are kind of okay. I don't think it's ever going to win Game of the Year, if that makes sense. But no, I'm really excited for it, actually.
Unless this new one really pulls it out of the bag. I mean, I think the other thing with what makes it exciting with UE5 is I don't know if you're familiar with one of the new pipelines they have, which is for large-scale world building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of their optimized system where you basically, I mean, it's not too new in terms of the general process, but it's new in terms of how they're doing it. But effectively, when you're doing a large world, you load things up in chunks. Mm-hmm. And you just, anything the camera isn't rendering, everything behind it is kind of binned from memory, effectively, or from at least from your GPU. So you're just rendering what you can see. But this time round, like, you actually have like a massive invisible grid, and you can put all sorts of detail in there, and the system's able to recognize what not only what squares to load in terms of this massive world map, but it was things like LODs, like level of detail for assets as well. So for anyone who's not familiar, like anything that's really far away in the game will look like the sharpest triangles ever. Like a castle won't look like a castle, it'll look like a few rectangles. But then when you're really up close, that's when all of the high res textures and everything else get loaded in. But it's just little details like that which makes it more exciting, I think.
What did we make of the Coalition's presentation around UE5? Because at first I was kind of sad. I've watched it about 3 times, and the first time, I've got to be honest, it didn't really blow me away. But that's not because it wasn't great looking. It's because I'd seen similar before, I suppose. It kind of felt like more of the same a little bit.
It was just a tech demo, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, but the thing that got me excited was the sort of the landscape that they did and the level of detail of that landscape. And it reminded me of the Hellblade 2 trailer that we saw back in 2019. And it's like, actually, it would be great to think that actually they could get near to that in Hellblade 2. Looking at what the Coalition have done with the UE5 engine, it's like that looks very similar. And that's actually starting to get me really excited that they might actually be able to pull those visuals off for Hellblade 2 in the UE5 engine, seeing what we saw from the Coalition.
The other thing from the Coalition I liked, which I don't know if it's the case, but I know, again, Unreal Engine a couple of months ago, you may recall, released what they called their MetaHumans toolset.
Yes.
Are you familiar with this? Mm-hmm. Again, I suppose for anyone who's not aware, Unreal Engine released, or Epic, I should say, released their MetaHumans, which is basically their own kind of like NPC maker effectively, but it's just super high res, super detailed, to the point when I think even in a load of the sliders and settings and stuff, you can toggle what their teeth look like. Like it actually zooms in and it kind of lifts up parts of their lips, and you can edit their mouths.
Did you both play the Matrix demo, the UE5 Matrix demo?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where they're in the front of the car and they're talking to the girl in the back seat?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was created using that. So she wasn't actually modelled specifically. She was modelled using that new... what was it called? I can't remember what it's called. Procedurally generated people.
Oh, MetaHuman.
Yeah, she was modelled using MetaHuman, apparently. And you can zoom in right close, and it's like, oh, wow, that's phenomenal.
Okay.
If you can create NPCs like that, it's like, wow. Did you...
It's mad,
Chris... the Coalition were involved in that, weren't they? I didn't realise that. They sort of mentioned that during their presentation, didn't they?
Yeah, I didn't know this either. I found it really interesting that they leveraged their own learning by.
Did you know that,
integrating with the
BMG?
project.
Yeah, I remember they announced it when they first showed it off. They announced it and the coalition, or it might have been a blog post after it that they did announce that they helped in partnership to make it.
God, I don't remember
using
that.
it on
Wow.
the Xbox Series X. Yeah, I remember it because it was like everyone's like, oh, it's going to be the next thing, Matrix game coming exclusive to Xbox because Coalition are helping. But no, I remember it. Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was a blog post after it.
Oh, that completely missed me by. But because there's been lots of UE5 hype going around at the moment, and rightly so, and that video keeps popping up, and every time it comes on, it still blows me away. That Matrix demo, it's just, I think it's got that kind of filmic lighting to it, and just, God, if that's where games are heading, that's so exciting. I think it's really exciting, to be honest. And like you say, at the hands of someone like the Coalition, that's going to be, Gears 6 or whatever it's going to be. Yeah, that could be really exciting.
Just in a comment from Stubb saying... Oh, sorry, go on, BMG.
No, I was just going to say there is no Gears 6. They are doing a Barbie's horse riding instead.
I've just seen a comment from Stubbs as well saying, you didn't know Flat and Puxley, they helped optimize it, not make it. Well, to that, I would argue that optimizing is part of the making it process. So...
Well, I think they didn't make it from scratch. I think that's what you're saying, but
yeah, I get that. And we never claimed they did, but they were still involved in the process. And interestingly, another point Stubbs did raise is that Unreal Engine is also used in movies and TV series, which is true, and I think that's also where a lot of benefits we'll never notice it, but if you ever see a massive change in CGI and all that kind of stuff, we could quite possibly have Unreal Engine to thank for that. I suppose as an example, Mandalorian used Unreal Engine 4.
Oh, really?
Did you know?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they used it for their in their backgrounds and the cinematics and stuff.
Why wouldn't you?
So
exactly.
I think there's some blog posts and images about it as well. So you've got like the actor standing there as the Mandalorian, massive stage, and there's a massive LED screen at the back, and that's all driven by Unreal Engine, and they've got all these different tools to adjust the lighting in real time. They can move the landscape that's in the distance.
Wow.
And obviously through the camera, it's all like put together when it gets to your TV. So it looks phenomenal when you see it get edited in real time.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I'd have assumed that was green screen.
Is it the Unreal 4 engine where it's free for indie developers to use up until they hit like a certain threshold, then they have to start paying?
I think that's an Unreal thing in general, isn't it? Unreal 5 will be the same.
Because that'd be the same for Unreal 5, because obviously everything that's going into it and what it's probably cost to actually build it, are they going to do the same thing or start charging
still
people
moving
out
on to Unreal Engine 5? That's a good point, actually. And what's interesting, I think, because the old scheme, when Unreal Engine 4 first went free, it was once you published something, and once you started earning above $3,000 or $5,000 per quarter, you then had to pay 5% royalties to Epic Games. But I think since the success of Fortnite and a few other little things that they were doing in the background, they then upped that to, it sounds unbelievable, but $1 million. Once you start earning over $1 million per year, whatever it is, you have to then start paying your 5% royalties. But to be honest, if you're earning that much, you don't care really, do you?
Isn't there something crazy where you have to pay to not have the UE5 logo come up, or is that Unity?
No, you have Unity's when you have to have a paid version of it to take it off. With Unreal Engine, you have to request to put it on. You have to get permission to be able to put it on, because it's almost like the way I understood it was, by putting the logo on the startup screen, you're almost advertising that this project is made in Unreal Engine 5, as if to really showcase it. So if Epic don't think it's showcaseable, then you're not allowed to.
So it's got. So it has to go through like a process for them to say, we're going to green light that you can use the UE5 or the UE logo on the beginning of your trailer or whatever. Wow.
It's mad, isn't it? And as you say, with Unity, you're forced to have it on there, and you have to have a paid license to even have the toggle button to turn it off. Yeah. Which it's a bit backwards, but there you go.
It does, yeah. Wow,
So
no, that's
Pux,
really cool.
Sorry, Pux, is your because I know you've been building your game. Are we going to see that in Unreal 5?
Oh God. I definitely am up for trying out a few little projects here and there in Unreal 5, but it's not going to be anything necessarily spectacular.
No, but here's a question for you. I mean, it's been touted that it's been quite easy to port stuff over from UE4 to UE5. Now, obviously, if we're talking a AAA title that's, you know, a year or two into development, something possibly like Hellblade 2, that's obviously a massive undertaking. But is it something that you'd consider, and do you know if it is relatively easy to do?
I suppose, put it this way, from the Coalition, I read an article the other day, and they said they had some obviously upcoming projects that they're working on, wherever they may be in the background, and they ported everything over from 4 to 5 in about 2 weeks, and had the whole had the whole team up to scratch running on it, which I find unbelievable. But I think, even though that sounds impressive, very well, I'm no engine expert, right? So I could be saying wrong things. But my understanding from what I've read and what I know is a lot of the framework and the general basis of the engine that hasn't obviously there's a lot of optimizations that obviously put in these new tool sets, which are Nanite and Lumin, which is the new lighting system. But it doesn't necessarily change the fundamentals of what the engine is. So in terms of how you build your games, the gameplay framework as well, which is its own thing within the engine, which is basically a set of in programming language, it's a set of classes which are made for you so that you can basically build your game on top of that. So you haven't got to worry about character unless you can customize it to the nines. But to make a character move and set up a controller, like you could do it in about 5 minutes because they have the framework there ready for you. Whereas like engines like Unity, for example, it's yes, they do all the background stuff for you, but you have to do arguably more work in comparison to get the same starting result. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
and they've also got a lot more, and there's a lot more visual tool sets as well. Like Unreal Engine uses their blueprint system, which is like their visual node programming. I think is probably the top level way to say it. So rather than going into C++ and delving into the engine and coding, yes, you do have to do that for a lot of things, but for a lot of things you also don't have to. And there's also a lot of cases where you have a lot of indie devs, as well as bigger devs as well. But indie devs there's plenty of examples of people who have their whole game is made in blueprints. They've not touched a line of code and never opened up a code editor ever. So it just goes to show the flexibility of what the engine offers, right? And I think putting that power into more AAA developers' hands, it can only lead to better results in the long run. So I think what
do they call it when you draw the lines between the code? Is it like spaghetti or something? You draw the lines between all of the codes.
Oh, that is your visual scripting, yeah. Well, visual scripting is what it's typically known as, But it's very it's hard at first, but it is intuitive.
I'm actually surprised because obviously with Xbox and Coalition using the Unreal 5, why aren't they using the id Tech engine? Because they've kind of bought that, haven't they? So how come they haven't leaned more into that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean the id Tech engine. Yeah, I mean it's a very capable engine. I don't know. Perhaps. Go on.
I've got an initial thought to this. It's many. I mean, like because again, different engines have different like pipelines and flows of working. So if you try to give an engine if you try to give a team that's been using say Unreal Engine or whatever else internally for years and they're all used to that, and then you say we've got this really cool id engine, start using this. There's a whole load of there's a word for it when you onboarding. That's the word. There's going to be so much onboarding that you'd have to do to get a whole team together. I would imagine that maybe the cost to benefit may not be worth it, but I don't know. Who am I to say? That's my initial reaction. I don't know what you think for that, but
no. To be honest, the UE5 engine will offer different things from the idTech engine, and depending on what the Coalition want to do, I mean, like you say, if they've already helped in the Matrix demo, that they've obviously got a flavour for what it can do, and I don't know. It's an interesting question, and to be honest, that probably extends to a lot of Xbox studios, doesn't it? They've got a choice of stuff that they can use, I guess. But interesting. Well, we've done half an hour on UE5 and kind of Tomb Raider. There's a few other things that we want to move on to. Let's do the second one. Don't know how long this is going to be going on for, but I've noticed that Starfield's been in the news. Well, they keep trying to inject it into the news as well, I guess, and there's probably more narrative around it than there has been for a long time, and I think they're kind of gearing up for some more hype for Starfield. Really, we keep seeing sort of images. I think they released, was it 5 images from a 2018 build or something?
Yes, and I think there was an update where there was a few more that were leaked. But yeah, it's about 5 or 10.
That seems odd to me. That I don't know what the game is. I don't know why you would leak images from 4 years ago. Seems a strange strategy to me. Keeps the narrative running, but let's face it, they should have thousands of images from the current build, so you'd think that they would leak to get people probably more excited, but it's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely find it bizarre because I know a lot of people like news outlets across the gaming spectrum jump on this to build up that hype, but I don't know about you guys. I mean, and chat as well. Let me know what you think and if you agree with what I'm about to say. But I mean, yes, I'm looking forward to Starfield from the angle that, yes, I'm looking forward to a new game and a new IP. But apart from the fact that it's been described as Fallout or Skyrim in space, we don't know much about the game. And I can't get excited about something, personally, if I don't even know what I'm getting excited about.
No, that's absolutely fair. And to be honest, I mean, the thing, am I excited and hyped for it? I'm probably similar. I'd have to say I'm very keen and very interested at this moment in time. But the thing that's making it do that, or making me feel that way, given the lack of sort of clarity we have around it, is kind of the pedigree that it's coming from. I love the single player Fallout games. I absolutely adore the Elder Scrolls games. So as it's part of that pedigree, shall we say, I am excited for it. But I also think that since games like Oblivion, Fallout 3, I just think there's so many other games now that are doing similar and better in lots of ways. So I just hope that Starfield remains current, if that makes sense. Because when you go back and play even Skyrim, it's pretty clunky by today's standards. So I just hope they kind of bring it up into this, bring it up to date, basically.
Do you reckon they're being really careful, given games like again, the idea, from what I remember reading in the past, they said things like, in this game, you can get out your ship, walk around, do missions, whatever it is, get in your spaceship, fly in the galaxy. That sounds good, right? But then equally, No Man's Sky said the same thing, and look how that turned out. So do you reckon they're just really managing expectations by just saying nothing?
I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah.
Is that even managing expectations, though? Because arguably the hype is even bigger.
Yeah, Todd Howard, though, is more of, he's always seems to have been with all his games. It's when the game is literally ready to go, then he wants to announce, this game's coming in 4 months, 5 months. Here's a detailed look. He likes to stand on stage and literally go into all the little details, every little nook and cranny about the games. He's always been one of them that wants to wait till it's ready to show, and it's out within 4 to 6 months release. He seems to have always been that way, but now with him being with Xbox, or Xbox going to try and do something sooner, push something more, I don't know, but he's always seems to have been wait, as soon as it's near enough ready, let's tell people about it. It always seems to be the way he's gone. Plus, I would happily burn my wife's bra if I could have information today about Starfield.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if your wife would probably buy into that. She might do. I don't know. Who am I to judge? But he has said that there's some information blowout coming in the summer onwards. So I would like to think the game is mostly ready. It just seems odd that they're leaking images from 2018, where as a gaming community we really shouldn't give a shit, and to be honest, a huge chunk of the gaming community probably doesn't give a shit, but there is a small community, a small part of it that's really excited by this, and that there's some more information. So it's obviously a big deal on some level. And I also remember, obviously, when the Bethesda deal went through, or was even being announced, I know the first thing that lots of people jumped on was, is Starfield going to be Xbox exclusive? So Starfield is already set up as this kind of crowning jewel of the Bethesda acquisition, I guess. And so I guess, Xbox need to capitalize on it at some point. And like you say, this sort of trickle feed of information that we're getting is, I don't know, it just seems a little bit odd at the moment. It just seems odd, but perhaps that's just me. I think I am getting hyped for it, though, I've got to be honest.
Yeah?
I like the round tables.
Mildly.
Round tables are good.
Yeah. They're mildly
one thing
hyped for it.
one thing I do like, I mean, I've got an image on my right hand side here, and I mean, yes, it's an old build, but I suppose like just getting an eye for it. So like the particular image I'm looking at is the one where you can actually see your character like as if you're playing the game. So it's it's shown here as like a third person game, but like obviously the later, like the most recent Fallouts and Skyrim, you can toggle that between first person and third, can't you? So do we know if it's actually one or the other? That's a good point. Is it a third person only? Is it first person, or can you chip back and forth like in Fallout 4 and that? Do we know that?
Know. I don't know off the top of my head. Chat, let us know if you do know, but I would be surprised if you can't toggle between them.
No, I would.
I'm getting Star Citizen vibes from it. Walk around your ship, jump in the pilot seat, fly, jump off your ship, go where you want, do different things. It's kind of got that bit of a vibe to it. And like I say, give me Skyrim in space. I'll be happy. That'll do.
I think what will get a lot of people excited, and then the others concerned. I think, Bethesda have a great track record for like games like Fallout and Skyrim, where the games are littered with things to do, things to find, and quests, missions, whatever they're called in the particular game. But a game of this scale, when you've got multiple planets, and arguably you're hoping that it's going to be a lot of virtual landmass, if you understand what I mean, on a planet. Like if there's a lot of things to do, but the planets are like a football shape, and you can get around it in about a minute or something. It's not arguably too exciting. So I think a lot of people have the expectation that the planets are going to be big. And there's going to be lots of big planets and lots of big things and to find, do whatever.
I'm a bit torn on that because I think this is one of the problems with No Man's Sky is because it does tick that box. The planets are huge. You can fly around them. It takes you ages. They've got huge landmass, but it's all procedurally, a lot of it's kind of procedurally generated, and it all ends up being a bit generic after a while. Once you've done your fifth planet and found a couple of perhaps rare items laying around, do you know what I mean? I'm hoping they don't go down that route and that they actually keep it sort of story and side quest focused. And I don't mean fetch quests and all of that sort of stuff. I hope to God we've kind of learned that that's not the way forward for these kind of epic games, just to pad it out with bloody fetch quests. But go on.
Go on. Sorry.
No, I just hope they don't go down that route of just making it bigger than it actually needs to be.
Yeah, I just said a comment from Darren who said, God Howard has worked too hard for it to be broke at the end. He'll make sure it's when he makes sure it's released, which I think, similar to what BMG said, that's true. But then I think, as a typical Bethesda fanboy fashion, as people do on the internet, I'm sure people are going to be waiting to all of the bugs that are going to be in these kind of games because it's so huge. There's so many moving parts.
Definitely.
There's going to be people
I hope
floating
keep
around.
it to one solar system. I think if they just do like a 1 or 2 solar systems, keep it tight. You don't need to be 1,000 pre-generated whatever. Just keep it 1, 2 solar systems, keep it compact, tight story, millions of side quests, and just do what you want, have fun. And
so here's a question: if it wasn't coming to Game Pass and you could get it for free in inverted commas, would you be putting aside $60 for it right now?
I would buy it.
Yeah,
I would buy it.
Yeah, for me, no.
I would buy it. I bought, even though Skyrim is in Game Pass and they brought out the next gen patch, I also bought the anniversary edition.
You're not shy of buying the same game several times, are you, BMG? We were just talking about GTA 5 in the green room.
Yes. My argument with someone on Twitter telling stop buying GTA, but obviously there must be a demand out there for people that want to play it, and I wanted a next gen version. I want all my games to be next gen versions. I will, it should be free. I do think it should be free, but then again, a lot of developers have put their own, time, effort, and everything into making these games next gen. So I'll happily buy it if I know it's something I'm going to play. I've never actually completed GTA 5 since it came out. I get part way through and then I give up and go to something else. So
I'm with one. I know someone else who hasn't.
I'm with you on that one. I've started it about 3 or 4 times and I just can't complete. I just don't have the stamina to complete it because I just don't care about it enough.
I find it bizarre because I'm on the other end of the spectrum, but I've actually finished it like 2-3 times on different platforms.
How can you do that?
I know. Wow. Well, okay, no, because I played it the first time on the 360, Like before I had a next gen console, I had it on the 360. I played it then, loved it. And then when I got the PS4, that was a Christmas gift, the PS4, but it was a bundle. I got it in 2015, whenever it was. And it came, one of the 2 games it came with was GTA 5 and the Uncharted trilogy. So obviously I played the Uncharted first, and I was like, well, I've heard there's some updates. I'll give it a go. And then I really enjoyed it, and then played it again.
Have you played Red Dead 2? Red Dead 2?
No, I haven't. No. Well, I've not played any Red Dead. You'll hate to hear. It's another game which, again, at the time it passed me by, and then I just never got into the hype of it, and then I never picked it up, and then again the games move on, and I jumped on to the next thing.
We could talk about.
Would you
go on?
Would you invest in the GTA Plus?
Oh, definitely not. No. Okay, I don't play online. I only played the story. I tried the online, and it's just all kinds of batshit weird, and I'm not.
Mayhem.
You need to invest so much time into it as well, like more so than you think you do with the story. But nah, I don't have the patience for it. I don't play online. I only like the story bits, and that's it.
I'm not the only one. We're not the only one. BMG, Darren in the chat. I got bored of GTA 5. Tried to start it time and time again, but got really bored of it. Yeah, I'm in that camp, I'm afraid.
Yeah, see, but if on the PlayStation 5, I've got PS5. The offer at the moment, £8.57 for the full game and online next gen. I thought, why not? Because it's cheap price. Why not? Performance ray trace mode, absolutely beautiful. It takes advantage of the DualSense, awesome. And I actually bought it today as well on the Series X just to annoy the person that was telling me not to buy it. So I bought it just because I knew it was annoying.
Excellent. Well, you do know you're part. You are part of the problem that's delaying GTA 6. You do know that, don't you? If you want a GTA 6, don't keep buying it.
I tell you what, I will. As soon as I get the game I'm not allowed to mention on live, I will stop buying games.
No, fair dues. Right, what else have we got in the news, Pugs?
I'm sorry, I just said a comment from Retro Nerd as well, who's just said completed GTA 5 and that was enough. And I'm assuming you mean you finished the story and that was it. Same as me. Yeah.
Well, you said you've done it 3 times.
Yeah, no, but it's still only the story. Like I liked it enough to go back to, but I didn't do it straight away. Like this was years apart. Let's bear this in mind.
Okay.
What pushed you to do the story again?
Sorry.
Yeah, but what pushed you to go back through it again for the 3rd time? What was it that was it just because you wanted to see what it looked like on the next console?
Because he could go around and murder innocent people on the street without getting caught.
My real world annoyances I take out in the game. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think, to be honest, the 3rd time round, the only one I bought arguably myself was the 360 one. The second one being the PS4 one came with the bundle, which was a Christmas gift at the time. And then the 3rd time, which was on PC, was when it was given out for free as part of the Epic Games Store release.
That's interesting. So have you completed it 3 different times on 3 different platforms?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes a bit more sense, I guess. Although obviously it's an identical story, but okay.
But what was interesting the 3rd time around is I've got a 20:9 widescreen, ultra wide monitor, so GTA 5 supports it. So it's stupid, I know, if you haven't played too many games in ultra wide, but it is like it's something about ultra wide when you can just see a bit more on the left and right, which just makes it nicer to play.
Yeah. No, I get that. Okay, well, let's move on because we've had some sales, some Xbox sales, UK sales, and they're doing pretty well at the moment, more so than PlayStation, which I get on some level because there's obviously PlayStation shortage still, PS5 shortage, and I guess, in reality, the fact that they've sold more doesn't mean to say that there's still more demand, if that makes sense. It's just that they were more available on some sets, but they outsold Nintendo Switch as well, which I thought was quite interesting. And it turns out that Microsoft, in their wisdom, paid for high priority on the chip manufacturer. It's quite a wise move, actually. I guess seeing that they could be capitalizing on this because, if someone's got money burning a hole in their pocket and they desperately want a next-gen 4K 60/120 frames a second machine, there's an Xbox Series X sat on the shelf, and you get Game Pass, which I would argue is probably a pretty sweet deal. I know Spartacus is on the horizon and stuff. I don't know. Perhaps that might tempt enough people over onto the Xbox brand, and you know, people that were going to buy a PlayStation because they just genuinely can't get one, maybe buying Series X's. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, I was quite surprised to hear that.
What I find more interesting about that in general is, I mean, that is good information, obviously, as you say, but the fact that Microsoft have paid for priority, bear in mind, like, I can only imagine you have to have paid a lot of money to get that priority. So I'd hope that they have almost, I imagine they do, obviously, but I'd like to believe there is a long-term plan of which they've looked at and gone, we're going to spend this much to gain priorities, we get more units out, knowing that they will get a return by some point in time.
Still, I think Sony were sort of sitting on their laurels, which they're entitled to do, because obviously the demand for PS5 is still incredibly high. Do they have to spend that money that's probably coming off their bottom line? You know, if they spend money for high priority, that's money that they're not making per unit sold. Can they just sit back and actually, you know, just wait for this crisis to be over and more PS5s to roll in and the same amount of people buy them? There's probably an element of that, I would have thought, with Sony. I think perhaps Xbox is using this as an opportunity to capitalise on closing the gap with PlayStation on some degree. What do you think, BMG?
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Well, let's say Uncle Phil, he's got the money down the side of his couch to reserve these chips.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise, though. I'm not being funny. If you're a big company like that, you want to make these consoles, you want to get them out. Of course, if you can secure X amount of chips by paying X amount of money, you're going to do it. You want edge of the competition to get.
Well, particularly if you're playing catch up, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I've just gone on, just for example, I've literally just gone to Argos. I have just added a Xbox Series X to my trolley. I can have it delivered, or I can go and collect it from my local store. I've just done it on my Series X. They're available on the Microsoft Store. So it is actually now you can see it is starting to become readily more available, and it's starting to show what they did's paying off. Yeah. If you can get the console, get the console.
You seem to have some sort of history about buying things you already own, so don't click the buy button, for God's sake.
No, my wife would kill me. No,
I was going to say the missus might be burning certain parts of your undergarments while you're probably still in them if you were to do that. So
we've got currently in my house. I have 3 Series X's, 2 Series S's,
nice,
and PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So I think because it was on about the Game Pass family plan come into play, which would work for me because we've got 5 separate Game Pass Ultimate. So yeah, Xbox all the way, shall we say?
Just some comments if you don't mind me addressing some.
Go on.
One from Mazeco first, who says, "Don't they say on the news that supply of many things will get harder because of the current conflict?" Which, yes, this is correct, but it's not just because of the current conflicts in Ukraine and such. There's been a large material shortage across various industries since the start of the pandemic, actually, for the last 2 years.
I'd argue that this might free up because they're not actually selling any silicon to Russia at the moment, so that might actually free up some production lines, surely.
It's not just that, though. There would be certain materials which will be sourced from places like Russia.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Almost in a large bulk, which will then obviously support the creation of. So you're right, but there's a double sides to there's 2 sides to it. Sorry, because I work in the field of electronics, so I deal with components on a day-to-day basis, and we've had internal reports of things with all sorts of stuff. Presentations that we've been given saying that lead times for almost like the simplest of components, for example, we're talking like not weeks, we're talking months, almost years in some cases. And if you're not, again, Microsoft, I think I saw a comment as well from Stubbs who said, Apple and Samsung do it as well. High priority money on chips is nothing new. You're right, it's not anything new, but it's going to cost a lot more money to do it at the start of the pandemic up till now than it would have done before. And Apple and Samsung, and they do other products, but they won't be using the same devices as consoles. And on top of that, because of the fact that Xbox has a custom chip from AMD or whatever, they're going to need the materials to be able to put the chips together in the first place.
Well, and the reason they do it, the reason Apple and Samsung and etc. do it, is to keep up with the Joneses. If Apple are doing it and they're getting priority, then Samsung absolutely have to do it. It's not even a choice for them at that stage. Whereas, like I say, PlayStation can enjoy an amount of brand loyalty, and people are more likely to wait, I think. I mean, Sony could do it. Sony could do it. They could go and blow some money on it, but I just don't think that they feel they need to have to do it, if that makes sense. Whereas I think like Xbox are probably capitalizing on that to some degree.
Yeah, you're right. I think this is something we've kind of discussed in previous shows, isn't it? But I think, given the popularity of just the PlayStation name or brand in general, as you say, I'm pretty much on the side of yes, they could do it. 100% they could. I mean, they make their own chips, for God's sake, like they manufacture their own stuff as well as use it. So, but I think the popularity of the brand, people will wait. People who really want one will wait for a PS5, and I don't think they won't jump to Xbox, for example. And plus, it's little things like for the most part, people go where their friends go. If all your friends at the school playground, for example, all get PlayStations, and you want to play with them, you get a PlayStation.
Yeah,
or vice versa.
I guess that's eased off slightly now. Lots of games are cross-platform, I guess, to some degree. But I guess it does. I mean, unless there's proper in-game chat, setting up a party and stuff like that, and messaging becomes a bit more awkward, I guess.
I suppose the only good thing, I mean, I'd argue that Xbox is probably on the back foot here, but recently there's like Discord integration into PlayStation Network, whatever it is like all done now. So you can actually talk to Discord friends through your PlayStation Network, which I thought was quite cool. If Xbox can do that as well, then you've almost got through that third party of being Discord, you've got cross-platform communications, haven't you, really? That would be really cool. But then again, all my friends play on Xbox, so I don't have to worry anyway. But I imagine there's plenty of people out there who do. Sorry, I do have friends on either side of me.
Absolutely. Was there any other topics that we needed to go through tonight? I don't think there was really. We knew this might be. Go on.
I was just saying because I know there's a couple of things which I know we could say, but I don't because we are saving some things for our coffee morning show, aren't we?
Yes, there are a couple of other topics that are kind of brewing in the background, but hopefully we'll be able to bring them on Sunday morning. So here's one for you. This is from Pure Xbox. 46% of US PlayStation owners interested in Xbox Game Pass due to Activision deal, says poll. And the same goes for Nintendo gamers. Is that real? I mean, I'm guessing it's real. Let's take it at face value, but
is that pre the PlayStation announcement of Spartacus coming out, or was that afterwards?
I don't know. Interesting, but I would assume that because the Activision games will be coming to Game Pass, that's probably enough. And to be honest, there's a hell of a lot of Call of Duty players out there. That could be a large percentage of that could be your Call of Duty players, I suppose, rather than having to buy this game every year if it's part of Game Pass. Don't know.
Does it say, is that a worldwide poll?
If the deal goes through.
US. YouGov surveyed 1,200 US adults and 1,200 British adults back in January and found that Call of Duty was the franchise that non-Xbox Game Pass subscribers were most interested in, with everything else far behind. So this is a Call of Duty-led thing. And perhaps it's of no surprise, really, if you think about it. But and let's face it, it says, 46% of US PlayStation owners interested in Xbox Game Pass. That doesn't really necessarily mean they're going to jump ship or whatever, but I think Microsoft will be pleased to see that as a kind of a headline on some degree, and so will the people that backed the deal, I guess. That's if it goes through, and hopefully it probably will. But interesting one that just popped in recently.
What I find a bit interesting as well.
Is it? Sorry.
No. Go on, BFG. It's fine.
No, I was just thinking, is it that the full access to Game Pass where you've got EA Play, you've got all the third-party games as well as Xbox first-party, or is it more of a curated kind of thing where it's literally first-party games only? I wonder how they're looking at it. Is it everything or just the first-party games?
I think this specific poll, I think the vast majority of people that said they were interested in it is literally just about Call of Duty, which obviously will be a first-party title if the deal goes through. So I don't think it's about Starfield. I don't think it's about Fable. It is literally just about Call of Duty, I think. It's a survey of 1,200 people, not a massive survey, and they might have been... Go on.
Adding on to that, though, I mean, Nintendo fans as well, like, where does that come into it? Because you don't get Call of Duty on Switch. So
you know what? That's a good point. Yeah,
you do on the Steam Deck though. They've because was it Sarah Bond did an announcement on Twitter. The second Steam Deck update for Game Pass games, was it?
Yes, I know what
More
you're talking
games
about.
have been made compatible. Yeah. So maybe it's like that side of it showing that they can actually work on handheld. Maybe it's getting more Switch and Nintendo fans more on board. Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's and to be honest, of course,
Yeah.
you know, to be honest, I don't even know if I'm surprised. Of course, Microsoft potentially buying Activision is going to get people interested in Game Pass if the Call of Duty games are going to go there and sit there year after year and stuff. Yeah. Interesting.
Has
Do we think that
either of you two gone for the Steam Deck?
Steam Deck?
I can't afford one.
Has either of you pre-ordered it? Nope.
I haven't pre-ordered, and I've mentioned a few times, and I was having a chat on Discord that I've said a few times I don't know if I have a big enough gap in my life to pay for them. I'd rather probably have a 3080, if I'm honest, RTX 3080 sat on my PC than a Steam Deck, if I'm honest. So, or probably a 4080 if I wait long enough by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean that sounds hardcore. It definitely has a target audience, doesn't it? And for me, I'm not its target audience because I prefer, if I'm gaming, I like to do it at home. I don't care. I'm not on the move an awful lot, so it doesn't have much of use to me. You could say that, but I've got a Switch, but it's like, but it's Nintendo, right? You have to get a Switch to play the exclusives.
Yeah.
I mean, the Switch could have been an at-home only console, and I would have bought it. So
that's interesting. So if there was if there was a set-top Switch that sat under your CV and a handheld version, you'd go for the TV version, would you?
For just me, yeah, for the most part, I think yes.
Would you also have a handheld version, or?
I mean, I say that I'm after revert my answer because I know my wife. She loves playing on Switch, but she loves playing handheld. I say to her, "Why are you not on the TV?" She goes, "Oh, but I prefer holding it." She prefers like chilling on the sofa, leaning back and just playing it that way. So probably for that reason, I probably would have stuck. I would have stuck with the with a handheld one if there was an alternative. But for me alone, if it was just me, then yeah, I'd probably just get a home-based one.
I like the fact you're making up new past tense verbs
I know.
off the spot. Stucken.
I know. Speaking too quick for myself. Catching up in my head.
If Xbox made a handheld console, would you buy it? If they actually made one, say on par with the Steam Deck, would you pick it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll say why once Phil's answered. Sorry.
I'm going to contradict myself here. I'd probably say yes, and I've just said I don't have space for a handheld device in my life. And I'm angry with myself for contradicting myself. So I've clearly not thought this through properly. Why would is this just? Yeah, but why would I? Is this just blind brand loyalty or something? Why would I?
No. Okay, let me explain my reason because maybe you do link to it. Maybe yourself, BMG, and something like a Steam Deck because it's just a Steam library. I mean, yes, you've got things online about XYZ games that optimize for Steam Deck or it meets the requirements. But at the end of the day, they are just PC games and you have to edit the settings to fit. With an Xbox-centric one made by them, I mean, outside of the given benefits of, yes, it will have Game Pass and cloud gaming and all that doodad, which we know it would have, you can guarantee, or I'd like to believe that you could guarantee, that when they've got their first parties, especially making making games for their Xbox ecosystem, they will want to ensure that those developers take into account, you need to make this run at a decent level, whatever that level is, on this machine as well as your bigger one.
They already do it They already do it for Series S, don't they? So
exactly, I was just about to say that. So if you can add Series S to the mix, if you can then put that onto a handheld as well, you'll get a guarantee that everything you're going to want to play will run, or for the most part. I know you can't help it across the board, but you get the general point.
I think I know I think I know the reasoning behind my answer now. I think because if I was to get Steam Deck, I would just want to play Xbox games on it. And I know, a bit like Pucks was saying, to play Xbox games on the Steam Deck, there's going to be an element of kind of hacking or kind of making it fit. Whereas if there was a dedicated Xbox handheld device, like Pucks was saying, you'd know it would work out of the box. And to be fair, we've kind of got that with game streaming and Akishi Razor and stuff. We've kind of got it, but not, I suppose. I think that's why I said that.
Yeah. I want to put that question to BMG, but before you do you reckon you can do a quick poll just to kind of see who would buy an Xbox handheld? I know BMG put a comment on there, but can we make it an actual poll?
Yep,
Is that easy enough to do?
Let's do that right now.
But BMG, what about you? If there was an Xbox handheld, would you invest? I say, would you buy one? And why?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you know, I tried out the cloud gaming. I bought to attach my phone to the Xbox controller. Tried it that way. I'm in the Northwest, and it doesn't work very well. You know, you can start playing fine for about 5-10 minutes, and it starts lagging, starts crashing, and it's pointless unless you're on Wi-Fi. It's pointless. If they had something more dedicated for Xbox as a handheld, I would pick it up, and I would pick it up because my job, I'm a private hire driver. I'm out on the road all the time between work and stuff. It'd actually be quite handy for me to sit and play because, you know, as we all, you know, families, busy lives and that, you know, it gets harder as you get older to fit time in just for gaming. I find personally, if I had something while I was out and about, I'd actually, you know, I would pick some up. I saw was it Jez Corden had the was it the Windows Surface or Windows Dual? I can't remember what it was, and pretty much it was an Xbox handheld, all touchscreen.
Is that like the big screen, but you kind of fold it in half? Is that
That's
what
the
it is?
Duo Surface Pro.
The Duo, right?
That's the one. That's one. He had that. He was on, I think, a good few months ago. It might have been late last year. He was on holiday on a boat, and he had that, and he was playing Game Pass games on it. And it's like, you know, if it's that good out there, if they had a dedicated handheld with all the technology in, so you could play a game seamlessly, I'd jump on it. I would be all over that. Yeah, definitely. I would pick one.
That's interesting. Well, PlayStation are the ones that have obviously dabbled, other than Nintendo, the ones that have dabbled in that. I did have the OG PSP. The trouble is with Sony, they're a little bit like Google in certain respects. Is they'll come out with a very innovative and a really cool product, but if it doesn't quite work out for them, they're quite happy to just let it die a bit, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? I think
PlayStation TV.
You say that, but they reiterated on the PSP about 5 different times, didn't they?
They did.
Because obviously they the PSP not slim, but they had like a different variant of the original one, and then they had the Go. Do you remember that one? The PSP Go.
Yeah.
And then they
I just don't think they never capitalised on it. In my opinion, like they could and possibly should have done. I don't know why. They went to a lot of time and effort, and the PSP was a fantastic piece of hardware, particularly the original one at that day and age. I remember the screen. I think Sony tend to screw themselves up a little bit. They had this stupid bloody UMD discs and things like that. Like Sony aren't scared of a proprietary media device or a media storage device, and that's shot them in the foot a few times. Kind of paid off with Blu-ray. You know, sometimes you go all in on a particular on a side, and sometimes it pays off like Blu-ray. But yeah, UMDs never really came to anything, did they? So,
well, you're going to see them streaming with PlayStation Plus Premium. PSP, was it PSP games they announced? But they didn't. Yes, it was. They didn't say anything about PS Vita.
PS3.
No PS Vita games.
PS Vita.
No, you're right.
You had PS1, 1, 2, 3, and PSP. But
and
no
the PS Vita's stores are still alive, aren't they?
I was going to say that
actively support them.
You can buy games, but you can't. Developers can't make a game for.
That's right. Yeah, you can't put new stuff on there now. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just buy what's currently there. Oh, I do wonder actually because the Vita had like a had like a touch interface on the back.
On the back, a little bit like the PS4, PS5 touchpad bit. But on the back.
I'm wondering if that's probably the reason why they're not supporting it. Because, you know, I know you've got the touch thing on the controller, but it's not going to be the same in terms of how you play the game, right? So a lot of games are made for handheld,
with the Vita, you could actually use the thumbsticks or the buttons and that simultaneously, whereas you can't on a PS4 or 5 controller, I'm guessing. So,
fair enough.
Excellent. Well, we've just done our poll. Would you buy a dedicated Xbox device? 86% said yes, 14% no. So,
fair enough.
I would personally prefer Xbox to put money into VR, if I'm honest. I am a VR convert. I don't think that's a secret at this point. I absolutely adore VR. I think it's the future. I am absolutely buying a PSVR 2 day one.
I was just going to ask
Yeah.
you.
Oh my God!
I'm with you.
My money is ready and waiting for them. Just tell me where I post it. Yeah, I will be buying that
Same.
day and date. Yeah,
I
and
hope they do a Star Trek Bridge Crew 2 for the
Well,
PlayStation VR 2. I'd be
everyone-
all over that. I loved it.
everyone's losing their shit over the specs of the PSVR 2, and I got to be honest, I'm not that massively blown away by them. They are incrementally better, and there are a few little innovations like the sort of haptics in the face and stuff like that. But they're not leaps and bounds. It's not like the next generation of VR headsets, I guess. But that said,
the point on the fact that they're using better, or they're using higher resolution LCD panels, aren't they?
yeah, but so are loads of others. So are loads of others. I know Quest aren't necessarily at the moment, but there's lots of VR headsets out there, and it's not the highest by any stretch. Obviously, they're coming in at a certain price point, so obviously you have to weigh that up. But it's actually what excites me more is, and I'm a little bit disappointed with Steam for this, if I'm honest. It's the software backing that Sony will give their VR headset. We've had Half-Life Alyx. Out of Valve, brilliant. But name one other AAA VR title on PC. So I'm hoping PlayStation will be the ones that actually pioneer VR and AAA gaming on that particular space, because I think at that point more and more people will start to get into it and think, actually, this is the future.
Speaking of PSVR 2 and the fact that we did our whole half of the show on UE5, as part of that, I'm sure there was a blog shortly afterwards on the PlayStation blog. Sorry, I'm sure they mentioned about how a lot of their first-party IPs that are making games for PSVR 2 are utilizing Unreal Engine as well.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise
so
me.
They almost kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, the thing is with VR is it's obviously very intensive in terms of processing. So any game engines that can help optimize that are probably very welcome, I would have thought.
So are you going to put a load of money to PSVR 2 to then play Moss Book 2?
Well, that's coming. That will be coming.
Out now, hasn't it?
It has on PlayStation VR, and it will be coming to Quest. Yeah. I think it's a timed exclusive. But Moss, I mean, anyone watching this show, I'm going to mention the game Moss, and I would think probably 9/10 of the people have never heard of the game Moss. But my God, it's one of the best games I've ever played, and it's just so frustrating that it's such a magical game that the vast majority of people won't experience because VR isn't mainstream. What's your take on Moss, Pux?
Oh, I loved it. To be fair, I was on the fence about it much, I say like you were, but you're the one that tried to convince me to get it. And I saw it on the store. I think it was on like a discount or something at the time. And it's a platformer. It's my kind of game. But when you watch the videos, the trailers and stuff on a normal screen, you think it doesn't look that special. But when you play it and you're seeing this environment virtually in front of you, it's incredible. Like the feeling of moving this character around the analog sticks. Like in your mind, you think, how can I look at something? It's going to sound weird when I say it. It's going to sound obvious, but it's almost like, how can I look at something virtually yet know how to control it with the sticks and know where the buttons are and whatever else?
What their left is and what their right is. Yeah, exactly.
It's natural. Like the way it's done is absolutely brilliant.
You're in like these little biomes, aren't you? And you actually kind of sit in these biomes as this character's running around in front of you. It's words and flat screen images can't do it any justice. But you've got a PSVR BMG. Have you ever played Moss?
No, I didn't actually play it. I was more for the Eve game, that one of the first bunch that came out. And what was the tank one? Based on the 80s game.
Oh, I was going to say World
Battle
of Tanks.
No, it was like Battle Tanks. It was like the old, like red tanks, green tanks. It's like an old 80s game. I can't remember the name of it. And you sat inside the tank and control the tank, went around. But yeah, I never picked up Moss. It's just one that I never played.
I'll tell you what, BMG, I've got some advice for you, okay? Some life advice on this one, right? Buying GTA 5 over and over again and treat yourself to Moss. Honestly, you will absolutely love it. I promise you will absolutely love it.
I'm waiting on GTA VR first. Once I've done that,
Well, I was considering doing some VR uploads to the channel because Half-Life, I was going to do some Half-Life Alyx ones, and that's fantastic. But they've actually got BioShock. So the modding community in Half-Life Alyx is just phenomenal. And they've pretty much recreated BioShock using the Half-Life Alyx engine. And my God, it is just phenomenal. So I was going to do some streams, but again, just watching it on a flat screen just doesn't do it justice. But I'll see if I can get some captures, see if it works, and see if I can get across just how amazing this is. Imagine actually being in Rapture. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then that slicer comes out at the beginning. And
yeah, exactly. Or just going down in the lift at the beginning, you see the whale going past and...
Yeah.
That's it. I tell you what annoyed me. Because obviously they've shown us the PlayStation VR 2. We've seen it. It's got the cameras for vision all on the outside. Brilliant. What's the point in the PlayStation 5 camera?
You don't need it. Oh, in general, you mean?
What's the point in it? What's the point? Because you assumed, I assumed it would be for the next VR.
Well, you can actually...
But no. The new camera for the actual PlayStation 5 camera, I assumed that the reason they're bringing that out would be for the next VR. But now they've shown the next VR. Yeah, it's one wire that runs from the front of the console, but it's like the cameras are all on the outside of the headset. So what was the purpose of the camera?
It's got it's got inside-out tracking. Where's my Quest? My Quest is behind me. It's got inside-out tracking, so rather than having external sensors looking in, it's got cameras looking out. So no, you're right. I mean, absolutely. What's the point of the PS5 camera?
I would have thought that'd be for the PlayStation Move controllers, right? Because they are your virtual hands, aren't they? And they use those little ball things and the camera to.
No,
not on PS5. No, they've got Quest type controls. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder then. Yeah.
Oh, no. If you wanted to play VR1 on the PlayStation 5, you had to get an adapter from Sony that you had to apply for to plug the PlayStation 4 camera into the PlayStation 5 and to use your VR that way. You had to actually request an adapter to use it.
Right.
But with inside-out tracking, these cameras are actually picking up in the hand controller. There's lots of LEDs in here flashing all of the time that you can't see. They're infrared, but these cameras pick them up and they can actually track the hands and head movement as well and stuff. So the PS5 controllers are like these. You don't actually have the Move controllers anymore.
Okay. I do wonder then if oh no, of course, you're right. I remember the pictures now. They got their own controllers.
They very much look like these. Yeah, they got the loop on them.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's for backwards compatibility then with normal PSVR titles.
No,
are made for it.
No, it's literally you have to. I remember them announcing it. If you want to use any PlayStation VR 1 games or the headset or anything, you had to get the adapter for the camera for the Move controllers. That way, it's the. I don't actually know what the PlayStation 5 camera's for. I don't know. I don't know anything that uses it.
Perhaps there's something a little bit further down. You can use it to stream with. You can actually do a picture-in-picture and stream from the PS5 to YouTube, but you don't necessarily need the PS5 camera to do that. You could probably use any USB camera, I'd have thought. So, good question. Don't know. I'm sure someone watching may have the answer. But, right, I think we're going to wrap the show up there, everyone. Thank you. It's been an absolute blast. Banged through some topics, some of them kind of hot in off the press and stuff. Chat, thank you very much. Always great to have the interaction with the chat. Anyone watching after this show, please leave some comments below. Let us know how you thought the show went. If there's any topics you'd like us to discuss, obviously hit the like, share and subscribe button. As always with all YouTube videos, your support means a lot to us and it does go a long way. But I think that's about it, gents. Puxley, thank you for being here, my friend. Hope you've had a good one.
Yeah, no worries. I really enjoyed this. It was really good fun.
Yeah, thank you, BMG. Thank you for our guest. Thank you for being on the show yet again. We'll have to get you back on at some point.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's the whole point of this. So hopefully we will be back Sunday morning with the coffee morning with as much of the GPG crew as we can assemble. And going through some other topics that we did have planned for tonight, but we will save those juicy topics for Sunday morning if you're around and fancy having a coffee with us. Until then, we'll see you then. Safe gaming, and we'll see you hopefully on the next one.